Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's gonna be the king, negativeZero, taking on Changeling in what I thought would be an interesting match. Changeling, for those of you that don't know, is Team Eris's random bot. So when clicking on its replays, you never really know what you're gonna get until you load into the game, and then you have a fairly good idea. As Changeling does take elements, well, large portions it seems, from the other race projects that the team has, and so it's just cool to see. We've got negativeZero going for a probe scout, as a result identifying which race it is up against, seeing it's up against a random Protoss. We've got Changeling going for a block on the Vespene Geyser, making sure negativeZero doesn't steal that. And so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And then subscribe if you haven't already, as yeah, we put out daily videos here. And then you can also join the Discord to get notified whenever we're announcing tournaments, that kind of stuff, or the rare live stream. Alright, so we have got probe scouts going around for both these bots. Notably, Changeling doesn't scout all the way to the other side of the map. It just checks around its base, and then negativeZero did need to scout to identify what it was up against. Now, the Protoss bot, the red Protoss bot, I gotta stop doing that, man. Which Protoss bot am I talking about? The Protoss one, don't you know? But yes, we've got Changeling going for a Nexus and a Stargate, interestingly enough. Now, we have seen cases in which Changeling or Deimos have gone for a Stargate, but then they haven't actually used it. Okay, so it actually canceled that this time. Something triggered Changeling to say that is not a good idea, which is interesting because it hadn't actually seen too much yet. I don't think it's now identified that there's two adepts out for negativeZero. Maybe its probe actually ran into the adepts. Yeah, that's probably what happened to prompt it to get on out of there. So we've got one adept for Changeling going to the opponent's side of the map, whereas one adept is on the defense to defend against negativeZero's two adepts. Changeling does allow the Nexus to finish. It's got its own robo on the way. However, it does have much less production than its opponent. So this could be a bit of a precarious start for Changeling, but we'll see whether it can successfully get up a Nexus against negativeZero. Losing this adept is going to be unfortunate, as you need every unit possible when you're going for one of these, for a one gate expand, basically, because you just have so much less production than your opponent. Changeling isn't even benefiting from this extra Nexus as much because it did allow the shield battery to complete, whereas it's got lots of probes. I suppose that could be a use for Protoss, where you recall probes or something to keep the wall up if you want to. But at some point, yes, Changeling is going to have to get out of here. It then throws up a Stargate behind this. So yeah, Changeling's PvP just doesn't seem to be quite as refined as negativeZero's. This is a little bit worrisome. I did just check when Changeling was last updated. Looks like it was May 14th. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the way the bot authors of Changeling move forward, in that there is like whether they change it in step with the original base bots such as Deimos or Eris, or whether they're going to allow it to deviate a little bit and for it to become more of a truly random bot. We do have a Robo Bay about to finish up for Changeling, which is very interesting, maybe trying to make use of how good Colossus are in these bot games. Stalkers are working away on a shield battery right as these adepts are coming on in. Now that shade does not complete, and the probes will get out of the base. However, now these adepts can shade on in. This could be problematic for the blue Protoss. There's a Phoenix on the way. There is another Immortal on the way. But Changeling could be on the defensive here as negativeZero is coming across the map with oh so many units and is just going to be looking for a quick kill. It's interesting, the Phoenix, the Immortal composition from the blue Protoss, but the bot author of negativeZero is definitely right when it comes to going for a delayed expansion. Changeling's trying to get up a third base. I think it could potentially just be dead here after the choices of the openings, as negativeZero is just an absolute killer. 3 Immortals coming forward. They are rather by themselves. If probes pulled against this, they could, I mean, potentially actually kill one of the Immortals or something, as, I mean, probes are not bad against Immortals. One of those Immortals is rather injured. Changeling is trying to hold on with its own Immortal. Does kill one. Phoenix gets a lift on another. However, the unit count is still massively in favor of negativeZero. That Immortal does die of Changeling. And now the unit count is just very low for the blue Protoss. Couple Stalkers on the high ground doing what they can. Now Changeling can afford to take some damage, seeing as how it does have a third Nexus up. But getting negativeZero out of its base could be very, very problematic and challenging at this point. Stalker warps in, gets deleted. The Immortal is literally flexing just right in front of Changeling, saying, "It's over, brother. Get on out." But yes, I do think Changeling is going to just go down in this one. Seems like negativeZero's PvP is pretty darn cut and dry when it comes to the games it plays against Changeling or Deimos, as the build order seems to be a win. There is a lot of efficiencies with the Stargate and, for example, the Robo that weren't really used. But yeah, well done. And now it's the part where I reveal that this is indeed going to be a multi-part video, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've cast some of the longer games, and there definitely is some selection bias, so figured we could check out some of the shorter games, potentially. As, yes, negativeZero will actually clean this all up. There is still a few Phoenix flying around, but Phoenix cannot win games, unfortunately. 2 Immortals, the cleanup crew. GG, I'll load us into the next game. All right, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen, into the next match. It's going to be Micro Machine, I think a lot of people's favorite bot, taking on none other than Sharkbot, a very good and underrated Protoss bot. So we're going to see how Sharkbot handles Micro Machine, as we did see in the chat there that Micro Machine is the favorite to win this one, but Micro Machine also hasn't been updated in some time, so those statistics can be a little bit deceiving, as Micro Machine sends out an SCV scout, but Sharkbot is sending out 2 probes, which is a little bit suspicious. And then Sharkbot says, "How good are you at counting?" As Micro Machine does go ahead and pull some SCVs down the ramp, as this is going to be a full-blown cannon rush by the Protoss bot. Looks like there can only be 3 SCVs attacking that pylon, which means that it shouldn't die too quickly, and that may allow a cannon to get up on the low ground. Micro Machine doesn't know that it could lower the depot, but I suppose it probably doesn't want to while there's probes knocking at its door, as that could be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. 3 probes are out for Sharkbot, and looks like they are waiting to get on in. We'll see if they do or not. Micro Machine's SCVs are out for blood, chasing some of these probes away. We are going to have a gateway going on up. The cannon is actually rather vulnerable, as what is that? 4 SCVs, 5 SCVs, I think, getting surface area on it, so it very well may die, as Micro Machine's response is pretty darn good here. The cannon finishes up, but the SCVs are committed, and they shut that down, which is why you usually see a second cannon or a block on the cannon to keep it safe. Another cannon is being attempted for Sharkbot. However, this pylon's really being worked on by Micro Machine's SCVs, and if the gateway gets unpowered, there won't be a zealot to buffer for the cannon, which could be problematic. We have another cannon getting thrown up. How about another pylon going up, Sharkbot? As this Reaper is out, it's going to start hunting down these probes. Potentially one of them is still alive at the back of the base. It's now going to attempt another Pylon on the high ground. This Pylon is actually so low, though, as Micro Machine will actually pull away from it. It wasn't confident enough to stay attacking it this time, unfortunately. And that Pylon may begin regenerating HP. Oh, it's so close, but it's one of those things. Bots don't really recognize when they can potentially shut something down. An opportunity like that. So Sharkbot is in a rather good spot as Micro Machine has lost 6 SCVs being pulled against this. The Marine working away on the probe, almost gets it, does actually get it, which is nice. Now Micro Machine is repairing the racks. It's got a factory on the way. Another probe does get forced on out. A Zealot is out. Sharkbot saying, I only see one base. I wonder why that is. Micro Machine does have one of its Marines actually get caught in the corner by the Zealot. Losing these Marines is a darn big deal, and oh, it may actually lose another as Sharkbot's dirty cannon rush is on the way. However, Sharkbot actually blocks the Zealot out, so the Marine may be able to clean it up. The probe, fortunately, not going for the Marine there, as another cannon wants to go up, but it will not be successful. Another Marine pops on out. This game is just being pure chaos. Now, Micro Machine has finished up its factory, but it has yet to begin producing a Cyclone or a Siege Tank, anything like that. This extra cannon is about to get up, and that is very problematic for Micro Machine. And then Sharkbot prints a very big chat tag saying Colossus Tempest Terran after cannons, which I can only assume is Colossus Tempest Terran after cannons. So this is quite concerning for Micro Machine. There's only one Marine left. No tank has started, and what a dirty cheese this has been by Sharkbot. As the Red Terran was fairly close to cleaning it up, but didn't quite kill off that Pylon. It's now down to 9 SCVs. The lack of a tank or a Cyclone ever starting, I think, could be the nail in the coffin, as we just listen to these cannons absolutely bombarding. And realizing I may have turned my volume up a little bit. Windows Audio Mixer is very unintuitive, because you turn the volume up for like one application, and it turns the volume up, the max volume, or the base volume up for every other application after that, past a certain point. It's like, oh, but now Starcraft's louder. Anyway, yeah, looks like Sharkbot will take this game, this cheeky cheese, overcoming the odds, that's for sure. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. I am going to load up a micro battle to round this one out, so don't go anywhere. Micro Machine actually did get out a siege tank, so it's staying alive. Now that tank may actually need a repair. Did I call this one too soon? I don't think so. Like, Micro Machine's on 9 workers, but it does have a Reaper harassing Sharkbot. This Reaper is up to 12 kills, which is ridiculous. And, I mean, Sharkbot does only have 3 Stalkers out. If that tank gets repaired, come on, Micro Machine, you gotta repair the tank. Like, it's an absolute requirement at this point. But it is not doing that, and that's making me very, very nervous. That's because it doesn't have any gas. It's saving up minerals. I'm guessing at this point for a command center. But yes, I'll be very happy once Micro Machine goes back into its gas mining. One of Sharkbot's Stalkers is stuck, and so is a Zealot, so that's very problematic. And Micro Machine does have the money for a command center, but then it doesn't actually go back into mining gas. Oh no, not the tank! Keep the tank alive, Micro Machine! That is literally your life. Oh dear, you've got to... I mean, it can't repair it. Oh, this is heartbreaking for Micro Machine. Yeah, if only it mined a little bit of gas, I'm sure Micro Machine would have repaired that tank if it had the resources, but it just doesn't. It's now having its mining interrupted by this one Stalker, and the tank is like, do I fight this? Don't I fight this? How about some more gas, Micro Machine? That would definitely help you out. But these Marines, they are not doing their job. The Stalker comes in. It's actually shooting the SCVs. The tank is avoiding its opponent. But yes, no more mining for Micro Machine. The cannons are inching further forward. There is 3 Marines out. The tank will actually siege, but then the Stalker seizes the day and pounces on top of it. There is 3 Marines against the Stalker. Okay, so maybe Micro Machine isn't dead. No, it's pretty dead. It's not mining at all, thanks to this one Stalker. Unfortunately. This is a good example of, like, of having it so that if your bot stops mining when there's a threat nearby, it's like, okay, that's a good thing. It keeps workers alive. But at the same time, there can be situations where your bot just doesn't mine at all, which I guess the reasonable thing to do, I think, would be to have, like, having workers run away from threats and harassment is a good idea. Maybe for, like, I don't know, the first 30 seconds of the assault or something, if there's, like, a unit there. Or just not to do it off of one base, because if you pull all your workers off mining on one base, then you're just not mining at all. So, yes, Micro Machine has to lift off its command center. It is unfortunately dead. A bit of a slow death, that's for sure. So close to having that tank out. We may have to do a rematch between Micro Machine and Sharkbot to see if the result is any different. And yes, we watch and we wait. How many kills does this Reaper have? Oh, it died before I could see. I'm actually going to rewind. I want to see. 16 kills. Not bad for a Reaper. And there's the Colossus coming in to butcher all these SCVs. As Micro Machine has its command center in the corner, but a Phoenix will take care of that. GG. Alright, now we've got a micro battle. It's going to be Sharpie P taking on Quarkling, as Lings and Banelings are looking to get us around on these Stalkers. No usage of the sentries up until now, where it pops 4 hallucinated Archons, which is interesting. Unfortunately, they are not going to help and deal damage, so unless these Archons buffer endlessly for the Lings, that would be problematic. Looks like Quarkling has it figured out and ignores those. So very interesting. I think the sentries just tossed down the Archons right as they were about to die. And yes, this is a good contrast between force fields and no force fields, as that second round is just an absolute deletion, as now we have got, what is that, just Hydras and Lings against Zealots and Archons, as the Zerg does just try and kite back against this. Zealots are pretty tough though, and they do have charge. Getting on top of these Hydras, 1 Zealot, 2 Archons remains. Those Archons are at full HP, so the Protoss will take that one. And yes, let's see here as... Pardon me, just trying to remember how to disable chat. Might not be working. Anyway, we do have the Archons and Zealots getting on top of the Hydras once again. This round is a pretty tough one, I think, for the Zerg, as like 2 Archons and 12 charge lots versus like 10 Hydras and 20 Lings is a pretty tall order. Now we've got Adepts, Immortals, and Stalkers against the beefy Zerg army. The Adepts are doing a good job buffering for now, while the Stalkers and the Immortals put out damage. However, they're going to be gone, and they are gone pretty darn soon, as the Zerg bot does move forward now. Immortals and Stalkers kiting back. There's quite a few Protoss units left, so it does seem that those Adepts did their job and buffered long enough for the Protoss to come out ahead on that one, as we're going to have our repeat of this battle, as Adepts and Immortals and Stalkers do move forward. Once again, Adepts are buffering. Corrosive Biles going down. They don't get the most amazing connections, as the Zerg does move forward against those Adepts. And I think that actually bites it a little bit, as while the Roaches and Hydras were diving on top of the Adepts to try and kill them off, that meant they were taking extra damage by being very far forward and close for the Stalkers and Immortals. So Sharpie Micro doing just all right here, as we do have Fungal Growth catching some of these Stalkers. The Stalkers have Blink and a Prism, which means they've got basically unlimited micro potential. The Roaches, however, do have Burrows, so they, in theory, are never going to die which is actually very problematic. I'm not sure if the toss started with an observer at the start of this fight, but that would be very important to know. The stalkers, I mean, they dispatched the hydras, but there's still roaches at the back here. And so I think the roaches should be able to take this one, unless, yeah, there's literally no way for the Zergbot to lose this, since the toss did indeed lose its observers. As, yes, that is quite problematic for Sharpie Micro, as the roach will finish that one off. Okay, stop. There's the observers we're seeing once again. There's actually DTs in the mix of this one. This one got started quite quickly. Observers flying forward, not getting picked off this time. There's both of them going down, and that basically seals the deal. So the toss not taking enough care of those, unfortunately. The prism then gets zapped out of existence. I think this one's pretty cut and dry, as Quarkling actually ties it up. So the bot that wins this battle will be the one that wins these next two rounds. This one, we do have Infestors versus High Templars. Good fungal growths going down for the Zerg. There's 2 Psystorms getting dropped. I'm not sure there's any more, though. There will be in about a second. So there's 2 more Storms going down, hitting a good chunk of the Zerg force, as the toss does just kite back against this. And the Archons are actually kind of body blocking the Ravagers and Infestors. But yeah, well done. Sharpie Micro does take this battle. So Quarkling will be playing for the draw at this point. Those poor Infestors just getting chased around. I guess the Infestors cannot burrow. So we're going to see how this one goes again. Quarkling tosses down a fungal. Another fungal. Double Psystorm goes down. There is even 2 more fungals that catches a bulk of the Protoss army. There's going to be another Psystorm in a second here. The hallucinated Archons are actually just walls, really preventing the Zerg force from getting forward. But it does seem that there is more Zerg in this battle. 1 Immortal goes down. Another Immortal is getting close to going down. Corrosive Vials do miss, unfortunately. But yes, it does just come down to 1 Ravager and some, unfortunately, useless Infestors, as Sharpie Micro does indeed take this one. I mean, the Fungals actually injured the Stalkers quite a bit, but not quite getting the kill there. GG. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. Click that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel and join the Discord. If you do want to support these daily casts, consider becoming a YouTube member. And just a little side note, if you guys do find I ever zoom out a fair bit in the cast, that's just because I'm trying to catch a good moment for the YouTube shorts, because base Starcraft crops and tends to miss a lot of stuff. But if you zoom out, it actually turns out pretty good. But yeah, so if any of you question my observing during certain fights, that's why. But I'll see you next time.